Hi, everybody, and thank you for coming back to Living to Do's review of Married at First Sight. It's season 14, episode 7. I believe it was Today is My Decision Day. Okay, before we get started, I would like to ask for you to like, share, and subscribe. To help this little channel grow. And also you can find me on Fanbase under the same name, Living to Do. So let's get started with the review. I thought it was a good episode because I thought this episode was why we originally watched Married at First Sight, to watch and people find one another and for the first time on camera and hopefully try to work together on a long-term marriage. And so we had a lot of issues that came up. Pastor Cal came to visit. So most of it was a good relationship episode. And plus we had Alyssa. That's a whole nother animal. But so first we're going to start with Noy and Steve. They had they seem to be getting along fairly well. They visit each other's home. I think what's his name? Steve is going to have an issue with Noy's dog's, what's the dog's name? Sushi. She sleeps with her dog. I don't think that's something Steve is interested in. And quite honestly, I think Noy should take other people's, she should be more considerate of what somebody else might like. Someone who doesn't have a dog may not want to sleep with a dog. A lot of people are pet owners that don't sleep with dogs. So it's just really hard to force that on somebody else. If you want to sleep with the dog, go in the other room or sleep on the couch. Since that he's trying to be nice and you're not letting him out of this, maybe the relationship is still new, but if you don't want to sleep with the dog, I see how he may think that's he's trying to be tender and considerate of her way of living, but they're living together now, and maybe a dog in the bed is not the best thing. I don't know why every year we come up with this, that half the people want. Maybe that should be a serious question that they need to take seriously when asked. I don't want dogs in my life. I don't want to sleep with dogs. So this is all the time. It's just, someone loves the animal so much, the other person could care less. Steve's bachelor pad looked like a bachelor pad. One thing that stood out, and he's really proud of, is his LED lights, which is so juvenile. Isn't he 38 years old? Why do you have these ugly lights hanging up all over the room? I mean, not even the room, the whole house. Yeah, you gotta grow up from that. It's not college days anymore. Pastor Cal came to visit them, and they were discussing the number of kids that Noy wants, which is 3, and she's not going to compromise on that. The reason why she wants 3, she's always seen many people in her life, her family, her aunts and uncles and who have you, all have 3 kids, and it looked like a perfect life to her. So just because of that, you're a stickler on 3 kids? And Pastor Cal ran down things like, what if you can't have 3? There was no answer to that. I don't know if she answered and they just edited it out, but no compromise. I gotta have 3 kids. If you're blessed that way, yeah, but that may not necessarily happen. You gotta see how you do with 1 and 2 first. Let's see what else. They talked about Steve's job situation and the possibility of having the financial income not be so stable. Steve has jobs like I think he is a photographer, web designer, graphic designer, which is good. To make good. That's that's his, I guess, his freelance work, and you can make good money doing that. But I guess he doesn't have a steady job, so that's really problemsome when you're starting a new relationship, a marriage, and combining income, and you really don't have you have inconsistent income to bring to the table, and people are trying to start a life, and you may not be ready for that. So they do worry. She does worry about money. She hadn't told Steve how she was raised in the refugee camp, and only, having 2 shirts and no running water. That is rough. Rough. 2 shirts. You think about that. Homeless people might have more than that. And she doesn't want to go back to that way of living. It's probably scary to her when the bills can't get paid and you're homeless. That's going to freak her out. It'll freak anybody out, but she's already been there. She needs a stable environment, and that's what he probably needs to work on. But then again, that's his life. He said that working full time, it doesn't give him too much time to create. And I guess he's a creative person, and that's how he wants to live his life. And she just might not be the one to be his partner in this, because being creative is too important to him, and he has a right to live the way he wants as well. But I don't know. There's a lot of people that are photographers and have families and things like that. So you can make it work in photography. I'm sure they get paid a lot of money. It's just, I don't know if that's really a hobby of his. Maybe he's not the best at it, that he can't make a living at it. I don't know. He needs to work that out. And I feel for Noy. You go in this blindly. You don't know what you're going to get. You got a great guy who had a great job, just doesn't have stable income. So let's move on to the next couple. The next couple we'll talk about is Christina and Elijah. Christina and Elijah. Now, Elijah, he has 2 things are on Elijah's mind: babies and cooking. Someone cooking for him. He walks into their new apartment, their joint couple's apartment, provided to them by the show. First thing he says is, I guess it was really nice, and he says, they want us to make babies. I don't know if poor Elijah, if these little bites, other people are saying things like that, this just not put in their packages that for us to see. And if you say it, they can capture it and make a story out of it. And he says it a lot. They went into the kitchen, and he says no excuses, because they had, pots and pans, all their dishware and flatware in there. And he says no excuses to her, like she has no excuse not to cook for him. He has no excuses. You get in there and cook, boil some water. He wants and expects home cooked meals. This dude is too much. At first he was really tight on that, and then he became, he saw how pretty she was, and then it wasn't an issue. They go to Elijah's house, and the welcome mat at his front door says, "Welcome to my crib," with the baby bottle. And then he was more talk about babies. She walked into his kitchen, and they were talking about cooking. And one thing she didn't like, I guess they might plan to live there, she didn't like the kitchen curtains. They said coffee on them. It just wasn't her style. I guess maybe she thought of a country kitchen or an open kitchen, but not that kitchen. Those curtains bothered him. He had a gym, of course. He asked her about what she would grade, I think, the house. The house, she gave it an 8. the overall house an 8, but the decor, the decoration, she gave it a 5. She wanted to paint the kitchen. For some reason, she thinks this is going to cost about $50,000. She's a little bit out of touch. Unless she wants to get a whole new kitchen. The first thing I thought about them in his kitchen and all this baby talk and food talk, I said, and I wrote down, that he wants her pregnant, barefoot in the kitchen. And later, Pastor Cal came and said the same thing. When he came in, she was cooking. She made spaghetti and garlic bread because cooking is required, she told Pastor Cal. They haven't had sex yet, but I'm surprised that he hasn't, because that's all he's about. Sex, 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 sex. When he's in the strip club, he's all that bumping and grinding like he can't help himself. I thought that he did listen to Pastor Cal. He seems to respect Pastor Cal and the man and what he has to say, which I thought this little talk that Pastor Cal gave them might help them a little bit in their marriage. We have to see. We have to see. They have a good attitude so far. They kind of have the least amount of problems out of all the couples so far, surprisingly. I thought we would get, so much more mess from him, but so far so good for them from them. So let's move on to the next couple, which is, we'll do Jasmina and Michael. Now this was interesting. Jasmina, she has a roommate and she currently lives with a man. Michael said he's never lived with the woman. But they were just kind of unpacking the stuff in their new apartment. But Jasmina, she was going to go to her own house. She said she made up an excuse that she has to deal with her dog and find a doggy daycare, I guess, in their new neighborhood. And she hasn't done that. So she's going to go home. And she ordered him to keep the house clean while she was away. Like she was the mother and he was her child. To me, it was a lie. If that was the truth, if she really needed to go for her dog, she should have made arrangements for her dog before she left, before she began filming, so we wouldn't run into this. If they weren't having any issues, I bet that dog would stay where he was staying or even join them in the apartment. There would have been arrangements made for that dog. Later, Jasmina came clean in her confessional that she did leave because she needed to clear her head. She needed a fresh start. Afterwards, she goes over to visit Michael's home, and he lives like a frat boy. He has lights all up on the wall, too. His looked even cheaper. They look like regular, cheap Christmas lights. And he lived with 2 roommates. And as they're talking, one of the roommates comes out of the room, and it's a girl. So Jasmina addressed it with him. You live with a woman? And he's all, yeah. Later we found out he has 2 roommates and they're both women. He just sat up there and said he's never lived with a woman. He never mentioned to Jasmina that he has 2 roommates that are women. She mentioned to him that she has a roommate that's a man. That would have been the time to say you live with 2 women. Not only did you not say that, you lied and said you never lived with a woman and you're living with 2 of them. It's like, what? Did you not understand the question? Just don't get that. I don't know why he would lie about that. I mean, he didn't lie, but well, he did lie. You said you never lived with one. Clearly, you do. She was going to find that out one way or another. What was the reason for not telling her? You're not sleeping with them, right? Or are you? I mean, she doesn't know anything. They had a meeting with Pastor Cal, and the issue that Jasmina is having is her communication with Michael, their communication or his communication to her, because she doesn't like his tone. She thinks he's aggressive and loud. And she says, of course, this is happening when the cameras are off, because we have never mentioned it. One thing we did notice is that he did cut off Pastor Cal when he was speaking, and I thought that was a little rude. And Pastor Cal, in talking to Michael, said there's different ways in talking to people. You talk at them, to them, or with them. And when you talk at them, you're talking to them like they're your subordinate. You give them less value. And I think Michael heard and understood that. So it seems sometimes when you have your elder speaking to you, you don't disagree with them. You nod and everything. You promise to do what they say. You're in agreement with everything. But when they walk away, they're nowhere around. You revert back to your old self. So it'll be interesting to see if Michael can turn this relationship around with Katina, because it's a shame if, I think he's a good guy, other than his possible dishonesty. I don't know if he was, I don't know. It'll be interesting. Okay, so the next couple we'll talk about is Chris and Alyssa. I'm sorry, yeah, Chris and Alyssa. Chris, we see him in the couple's apartment by himself, unpacking, and he's talking to his friend, and he's telling him that, he heard through the grapevine that Melissa has a problem with him because their political views are different. Interesting, she doesn't even have his phone number because she didn't want it. He tells his friend Nick that Alyssa has an issue because her psychic told her that she's going to marry a man with an eagle tattoo, and because he doesn't have an eagle tattoo, that's an issue. She's also saw something on his social media saying, defund the police. Oh, that got her up in arms. She can't, I guess, can't see herself with anybody who would say something like that. All along, she never talked to Chris directly about these issues. You just heard these things through the grapevine, or she has issues with him because of what a psychic said. The police thing was crazy because she read this on social media. He's talking to his good friend Nick, who is a police officer. See, you took a bit of information and you ran with it. You made all types of assumptions because you're just trying to find yourself an out. You never confronted him about any of these things. We really don't know what is on your mind. You're vague. You are so vague on why you don't want to be with your husband, and you have a problem with it when someone questions you about it. Alyssa meets with her mom. Alyssa, I cannot wait. Okay, she tells her mom she pretty much blacked out. When she saw him, it wasn't what she thought or expected. She was looking for someone more like a cowboy. She tells her mom, she's having problems with him because her mom has not seen how Chris treats her. She was saying all these things about Chris. Her mom says that he's a nice guy. Alyssa was just lying. She's such a liar, talking about Chris the way she was, saying all these things that he did or said that never happened. I can't wait for her mother to see the taping, this playback, and see how much of a liar her daughter is. She was saying that Chris has no respect for her. She has no respect for Chris. She's just a liar. She is just a liar. That will get old quick. Pastor Cal came to visit. I guess so did Alyssa. She arrived right before Pastor Cal. She tells Pastor Cal that when she first saw him, she was disappointed. Um, she was nervous about hearing about things she heard about him from his friends mainly. Uh, she just created this scenario, what happened, what was the downfall in her marriage, and they were all lies. She also said that they both had dogs, so what? And that's too much. Even though she's a dog lover, an animal lover, there's two dogs. That was another reason they couldn't be together. Even though she's a dog lover and she has a dog herself. Oh, Lindsay. She had nothing positive to say about Chris, and Chris did have something positive to say about her. All in all, Chris came up with the conclusion that that particular day was his decision day. And in all honesty, his decision day could have been 45 minutes after the wedding. Chris wants a divorce. Chris wants a divorce, and he should be granted one immediately. In fact, I don't know why this can't be annulled. It should be annulled. Alyssa, I don't know if I've been calling her Lindsay, but Alyssa, she has been crying. She was crying after he made the statement that he wants a divorce. Saying the same thing. She worked so hard to get there. She's a good person. She's a piece of work. He needs to get rid of her. Goodbye. Get gone. We're sick of you. Bye, Felicia. Leave. That's how I feel about her. And I think that's pretty much what Chris feels about her, too. When Chris also left the apartment, he packed up his stuff. Alyssa had left her keys on the counter. Chris left his keys along with his wedding ring. It's over. He's put himself out of that his own misery, because Alyssa, she had no business being anywhere near Married at First Sight. Last couple, Lindsay and Mark. Oh, Lindsay and Mark. I think Mark is trying so hard just to be in the same room with her. Lindsay, he likes her. He's not lonely, that's for sure. And she's nurturing, and she's always seemed like he has a problem, and she's had a solution to his problems. They were going to go to his house to get some stuff because he has bed bugs. So they were dressed in hazmat suits to go into the house to get some stuff. Of course, he was embarrassed, and who wouldn't be? But Lindsay had bed bugs in the past from all her traveling. When they went through his stuff, every little thing, she was like throwing it away. It was just like, you have to be more considerate of people's belongings. They might have an attachment to him, but she was just flinging around his stuff, and she has sharp edges. I don't know. Poor Mark. Poor Mark. He's going through so much. He has this new wife who's too much. He has sick family members that it looks like his last family members on earth, and they're both in some type of facility care. His grandmother, Lindsay says she weighs 70 pounds, and that's just, so she's really, really sick, and he has a lot on his mind, and I'm sure he feels obligated to his family member. Of course, he's like, he's in his 30s, and they're way older and not in good health, and of course he's acting different on and off camera. So he's with Lindsay both times, and she's saying he's hot and cold, he's on, he's off, and all of that's driving him insane. And she knows he's going through a lot, but she just sees two different people. She sees changes in him. His demeanor's different. She wants to talk to Pastor Cal. When Pastor Cal comes over, Mark answers the door. He says they're doing a bump. They're in a bumpy patch. Mark talks about the condescending communication that he's getting from Lindsay. Lindsay says she knows that he's not giving his best version of himself because he's going through a lot. They did have sex, but they're not having sex anymore. They're not even holding hands. Lindsay is an affectionate person. She's an affectionate person, and she feels insulted and offended by his lack of affection towards her. And Mark is trying to say he's not the type of person to speak up, especially when he doesn't know you that well, when the relationship's so new, that she is a lot, but he doesn't like her mouth. He doesn't like, when you go out in public, you know how you have to represent your family, so you dress well or what have you. When her mouth, you represent them as a unit and a couple, and he doesn't like what comes out of your mouth. You're out of control. You're embarrassing him. These are going to be, and it's so new, and I'm sure it's going to get worse. And he likes her. He wants to respect her, and he says he respects her enough just to slow down. So even he said in having sex with her, the first time it was great, over the moon. He was happy. After that, it didn't feel right to him, and he doesn't want to keep doing that if it doesn't feel right to him. He thinks that Lindsay's giving him too much affection. When there's issues and whatnot, she's poking at him, and he's the type of person to shut his mouth. And as she's talking to her, and Pastor Cal's in the room, and Pastor Cal wants him to talk to get his feelings out, and when Lindsay hears all that he has to say to her, Pastor Cal asked her how she felt, and she said that she doesn't even understand. It's what he's saying is just a run-on sentence. Again, insensitive to his feelings. It took a lot of him to tell you this, and you receive it this way. And when he was talking about his emotions, he was like, you could hear the cracks in his voice. She just didn't take it serious enough, if you ask me. He was trying to explain to her that you don't have a filter, and basically your filter is not his filter. And basically he's saying the way you act, he doesn't act this way. And quite honestly, he didn't say this, but nobody acts this too much for the average person. This is why you're getting in run-ins with other people, because you don't know how to behave. And Pastor Carl says, how do we make this work? He was saying he needs her to just let him be sometimes, and that he needs her in small doses. That was so nice. And she knows she's a lot. So I don't think she should be offended that he says that he can only take a little bit of you at a time. And what Lindsay needed was to be affirmed, that they're still in this relationship, that she is still wanted by him. And I get that. But she really needs to hear him. Mark made a comment in his confessional that the experts mean well, but they don't live with her, and she is too much. And I was thinking, she is, and I think maybe she definitely needs medication, because Elijah is a lot. I was just comparing the two. And Elijah has admitted that he is on medication. And he has brought it down. I don't know if he's brought it down, but based on what we see, if you weren't on this medication, how much up you would be. Probably a lot more hyper and emotional, maybe. Your emotions might be all over the place. So you might confront people often, just like Lindsay is doing now. So I don't know if she's ever seen a therapist. I think they wouldn't I don't think they would hesitate in giving her medication just so she could be tolerable to the general public. But if she was on medication and she just brought all that energy down a couple of pegs, that she would get along with everybody. Even her dad had something to say about her. And I'm thinking medication just might work for her. So that was it. That was it for the episode. I kind of liked it as far as a relationship episode without that high, unnecessary, overproduced drama. I was grateful not to see much of that. So that's it for now. We'll be back with episode 7 next week. Again, if you would please subscribe, like, and share this video, I would really, really appreciate it. And you can also find me again on Fanbase, the new app that is out. You can find me on Fanbase under the same name, Living to Do. And that's it for now. I got to get going because I got living to do. Bye.